In 1991, deep inside China, a heavily guarded prison suddenly received an unexpected visitor. An ambulance speeds through the gates carrying a medical team, along with a supposed doctor named Bishop, who is secretly working for the CIA. The team claims they have arrived with a vaccine, but before allowing anyone else to use it, the prison warden insists on testing it on himself first. As the guards and staff focus on the injection, Bishop quietly prepares his real operation. Without drawing attention, he swallows 2 capsules and walks toward an electrical panel nearby. Ignoring the guards shouting at him to stop, he connects a wire and instantly causes a massive power failure that throws the entire prison into darkness. Sparks fly everywhere, and Bishop is violently shocked by the current before collapsing to the floor. Believing it to be an accident, the guards quickly pull him away while the medical crew rushes to treat him. Moments later, after receiving an injection, his heartbeat appears to stop completely, convincing everyone around him that he is dead. While the prison authorities scramble to restore electricity, Bishop suddenly wakes up through a hidden earpiece. His team informs him that he only has a few minutes remaining to complete the mission before security tightens again. Wasting no time, Bishop moves through the dark prison corridors toward the inmate he was sent to rescue. Reaching the target cell, he blows open the lock and frees the prisoner just seconds before the power finally comes back online. At the same time, the prison chief begins reviewing the security cameras and quickly notices suspicious activity happening inside the facility. Outside near the main gate, the ambulance waits for clearance to leave. Bishop lies on a stretcher pretending to be unconscious while the rescued prisoner hides underneath it to avoid detection. However, the prison chief soon becomes suspicious and orders armed guards to surround the vehicle immediately. Realizing escape may no longer be possible, Bishop prepares himself for a fight. But when the ambulance doors swing open, he discovers security forces covering every possible exit. Completely trapped, he is forced to surrender. The guards drag him back into the prison as the story shifts to the American embassy. Meanwhile, at the embassy, a man named Harry urgently contacts veteran intelligence officer Nathan. He informs him that one of their agents has been captured in China and warns that there is very little time left to respond. Nathan quickly heads to headquarters, despite being just 1 day away from retirement. Before even sitting down, he asks whether a fax from Hong Kong has arrived. His assistant hands over the documents, and after reading them, Nathan realizes the captured operative is Bishop, the best field agent he has ever handled. When Nathan enters his office, he notices a man named Charles searching through confidential files connected to Bishop. Remaining calm, Nathan pretends the complete records are still missing and says it may take some time before he can provide the full file. After Charles leaves the office, Nathan immediately begins covering Bishop's tracks. He secretly collects every classified document connected to the agent and instructs his secretary to destroy nearly all of them. Only a single page is preserved for official records. Moments later, Nathan heads toward another secured section of the building, but guards stop him from entering an important briefing room. Shortly afterward, Charles arrives carrying the remaining file and questions why there is barely any information about Bishop in the archives. Staying calm, Nathan explains that most of the details were never written down because they existed only in his memory. Using that explanation, he successfully gains access to the meeting. Once inside, Nathan quickly senses that government officials are keeping critical information from him, although he already understands how dangerous this situation truly is. The timing could not be worse. The President of the United States is preparing for a diplomatic visit to China, while, at the same time, an American operative has been captured there. A few moments later, Nathan's superior officer, Troy, joins the discussion and urges everyone to cooperate. He confirms that Bishop has officially been taken prisoner by Chinese authorities. Nathan immediately asks how much time remains before the situation becomes irreversible. Troy reveals the terrifying reality: only 24 hours are left. If America refuses to identify Bishop as one of their agents before that deadline, the Chinese government plans to execute him the next morning. Nathan then demands to know why Bishop entered such a heavily secured prison in the first place. Troy explains that Bishop had originally been assigned to a different mission, but infiltrating the prison was a decision he made on his own without authorization. No one expected him to take such a dangerous risk. As the discussion continues, Troy reminds Nathan that Bishop vanished in Hong Kong less than a day ago and now faces execution at 8 o'clock the following morning. Soon after, Troy asks Nathan where he first encountered Bishop, causing the story to shift back to Vietnam during the final days of the war in 1975. Nathan arrives at a military base surrounded by chaos and learns that their sniper has recently been killed. With enemy forces closing in, the camp desperately needs a replacement shooter. Nathan is informed that a new soldier has already been assigned to the role. Curious, Nathan goes to meet the young recruit and discovers it is Bishop. During their conversation, Nathan asks where he learned to shoot so accurately. Bishop casually replies that he developed his marksmanship skills while participating in the Boy Scouts. Surprised by the answer, Nathan initially struggles to believe him. To test the young soldier's abilities, Nathan assigns Bishop an important operation. Their target is a Laotian military officer expected to arrive the following morning. Without hesitation, Bishop accepts the assignment and later moves into position alongside his spotter, preparing for the mission to begin. A short time later, the enemy officer finally appears within Bishop's sniper scope. Just as he prepares to fire, a military helicopter suddenly enters the area and begins circling overhead. Bishop and his partner quickly realize that taking the shot now could expose their position and almost certainly get them killed. As the helicopter moves dangerously close, the tension continues building. Waiting patiently for the right opportunity, Bishop eventually finds the perfect opening and fires a single shot that kills the target instantly. The moment the officer falls, the helicopter immediately retaliates, spraying the area with heavy gunfire. Bishop and his partner try to escape through the chaos, but during the attack, his partner is struck in the leg and becomes unable to move. Despite the danger, Bishop refuses to leave him behind. Instead, he lifts the wounded operative onto his shoulders and carries him toward nearby cover, even while protecting his injured partner. Bishop manages to take another carefully aimed shot that kills the helicopter pilot. Without control, the aircraft crashes violently into the ground. After the battle ends, Nathan arrives at the scene and is surprised to discover both men survived, more than Bishop's incredible shooting skills. Nathan is impressed by his loyalty and refusal to abandon a wounded teammate under fire. The story then shifts back to the present day, where government officials begin questioning Nathan about the old Vietnam operation. They ask whether he ever had official authorization to assassinate the Laotian military officer during the war. Nathan dismisses the argument completely, believing the far more urgent matter is saving Bishop before time runs out. During the meeting, Nathan receives a quiet message from his secretary, informing him that agents are currently searching through his office. Realizing what is happening, Nathan immediately leaves the room and pretends he has suddenly remembered where Bishop's missing file could be located. Once inside his office, Nathan secretly retrieves the contact information of a man named Gibson, based in Hong Kong. Using a secure call, Nathan quietly instructs him to leak information about the captured CIA operative to the international media as quickly as possible. The goal is to force public attention onto the situation before the execution can happen in secret. After giving Gibson only 30 minutes to spread the story, Nathan calmly returns to the meeting and continues acting as though he still cannot locate Bishop's classified records. The officials then shift the conversation and demand to know how Bishop was originally recruited into intelligence work. Nathan explains that during those years, recruitment was never rushed. Finding the right operative required patience, observation, and years of evaluation. He reveals that he spent a long time studying Bishop carefully, learning everything about his personality, talents, weaknesses, and instincts before finally deciding to bring him into the agency. After carefully studying Bishop's abilities and personality, Nathan eventually assigns him to Germany under a simple desk job. The assignment is intentionally dull because Nathan believes frustration and boredom will slowly push Bishop toward becoming the kind of operative he truly needs. He waits patiently for the moment Bishop begins wanting something more dangerous and meaningful. The story then moves into another flashback set in Germany during 1976. Just as Nathan predicted, Bishop becomes tired of routine office duties and starts craving real action. Once Nathan realizes the timing is perfect, he finally approaches him with a serious proposal. Bishop is genuinely pleased to see Nathan again, and during their conversation, Nathan gradually introduces him to the hidden world of intelligence operations. He explains that the work would involve living undercover, taking risks, and operating in secrecy. Most importantly, Nathan makes it clear that the decision must be Bishop's alone. Soon afterward, Bishop officially begins his training. From that point forward, Nathan personally teaches him the skills required to survive as a spy. Bishop learns that an intelligence officer can never truly relax and must remain observant every moment of the day. Nathan trains him to study human behavior, recognize hidden emotions, notice small facial reactions, and identify when someone is lying. Over time, Bishop also learns how to collect information through ordinary conversations without raising suspicion. Nathan teaches him how to manipulate situations, protect his identity, and even remain calm enough to beat polygraph examinations. The intense training lasts for months and slowly transforms Bishop into a highly capable operative. Eventually, feeling confident in his abilities, Bishop begins asking for a real mission in the field. Although Nathan sees potential in him, he decides to conduct one final test before trusting him completely. Pointing toward a nearby building, Nathan gives Bishop a difficult challenge. He orders him to enter the house and somehow reach the balcony within only a few minutes. The building belongs to an elderly woman, and instead of using force or sneaking inside aggressively, Bishop approaches the situation intelligently. He starts a friendly conversation with the woman, gains her trust naturally, and successfully reaches the balcony without creating suspicion. Watching the entire situation unfold, Nathan finally realizes Bishop is fully prepared for undercover work. The story then returns to the present day, where officials begin discussing one of Bishop's most sensitive assignments. Their conversation leads into another flashback, this time set in Berlin during a tense CIA operation. American intelligence discovers that a Russian spy has infiltrated the US Embassy, triggering a dangerous covert mission. During an upscale gathering, a mysterious woman named Anne quietly approaches Nathan and passes along disturbing information. The moment Nathan speaks with her, he realizes she is connected to Soviet intelligence. More importantly, he understands something has gone terribly wrong. The Russians already know details about the operation. At the same time, Bishop is carrying out an assignment nearby, driving an important man toward the border. The instant Nathan pieces everything together, he realizes Bishop is heading directly into an ambush. Russian agents are already moving into position. Knowing there is almost no time left, Nathan urgently contacts Bishop and orders him to abort the mission immediately. Thinking fast, Bishop changes his plan on the spot and pulls over near a roadside restaurant. Through the communication line, instructions are repeated rapidly as the situation grows more desperate. Bishop is told to dispose of a bottle and leave it as close to the checkpoint as possible because the substance inside could kill the passenger if discovered. To make the escape believable, Bishop enters the restaurant bathroom and drinks a chemical mixture that causes him to appear extremely intoxicated within moments. His behavior quickly becomes unstable, making him look like a reckless drunk rather than a trained intelligence operative. When the Russian agents finally arrive at the checkpoint, they immediately notice Bishop acting completely out of control. Convinced he is nothing more than a drunken idiot, they lower their suspicion and stop treating him as a serious threat. That brief distraction gives Bishop enough time to protect the man traveling with him. But the situation has already become impossible. Realizing the border crossing can no longer succeed, Bishop is forced to improvise. He leaves the man behind and escapes across the Berlin border alone, before eventually returning to report everything to Nathan. After the mission, Bishop angrily confronts Nathan, believing the man at the checkpoint had been deliberately sacrificed. Furious over what happened, he questions how innocent lives can be treated as disposable pieces in intelligence work. Nathan finally explains the hidden truth. The man Bishop tried to protect was actually a double agent, secretly supplying information to the Russians. The operation was never only about crossing the border, it was designed to expose the real spy hiding inside the American embassy. The revelation creates even greater tension between Nathan and Bishop, because their moral beliefs are completely different. Bishop values human life above everything else and struggles to accept sacrificing people for strategy. Nathan, however, believes espionage is built on harsh decisions where survival sometimes requires ruthless actions. The story then shifts back to the present, where officials reopen Anne's case file. They reveal that sometime after the Berlin operation, Anne was discovered dead inside a hotel room. Almost immediately, suspicion begins pointing toward Bishop as a possible suspect. Nathan then redirects the conversation toward another classified assignment, referred to as the other mission. Troy explains that during this operation, American intelligence successfully intercepted Chinese communications and obtained highly sensitive information. Hearing this, Nathan quickly realizes what truly worries the officials. They fear Bishop could reveal critical national secrets if Chinese authorities force him to talk during interrogation. However, Troy soon clarifies an important detail: Bishop was never directly involved in that intelligence operation at all. Instead, he explains that Bishop was captured for an entirely different reason. He had entered Suzhou prison during an unauthorized rescue attempt and was arrested there. Not while working on the classified mission the officials are so desperate to protect. The instant Nathan hears the name of the prison, he finally understands the truth. Everything suddenly connects in his mind. Bishop did not enter Suzhou prison for a random mission. He went there to rescue someone specific. At the same time, reports begin spreading through the media that an American agent has been captured in China. Inside the CIA, many officials quickly suspect Nathan is responsible for leaking the information in order to pressure the government into rescuing Bishop before the execution deadline arrives. At first, Nathan believes the strategy is working exactly as planned. But moments later, the agency makes a shocking public statement. Officials deny the entire story and claim that Tom Bishop actually died 14 months earlier, insisting China's accusations are completely false. The announcement stuns Nathan and makes him realize time is running out faster than ever. Without hesitation, he rushes back to his office and orders his assistant to gather detailed maps of Suzhou prison immediately. He also demands contact with military personnel and asks which field operative is stationed closest to the prison area. Nathan soon learns that a commander is located on a nearby island only 40 minutes away from the facility. After piecing together this situation, Nathan approaches Charles and quietly reveals that he now knows exactly who Bishop tried to rescue inside the prison. Charles escorts him back into the meeting room, where officials demand the full explanation. Nathan finally reveals the prisoner Bishop risked everything for is a woman named Elizabeth. The revelation leads officials to pull out Elizabeth's classified file and question Nathan about her connection to Bishop. Nathan then begins describing events that took place years earlier in 1985. Following a devastating bombing orchestrated by a powerful sheikh against the American embassy in Beirut, Bishop was sent into the city on an undercover assignment. Since direct retaliation against the Sheikh could trigger major political consequences, Bishop's orders were simple: remain hidden, observe the target carefully, and avoid taking direct action. Using the identity of a freelance photographer, Bishop settles into Beirut and quietly monitors the Sheikh's activities while blending into everyday life. During this assignment, he notices a woman named Elizabeth sitting inside a restaurant. Although they exchange only a few silent glances, the encounter leaves a strong impression on both of them. Later, Bishop sees Elizabeth delivering medicine and toys to children living in a poor and dangerous neighborhood. However, local militia members intercept the supplies before they can reach the families. Watching everything unfold, Bishop secretly uses his own connections to recover the stolen aid. The children eventually receive the medicine and gifts, while Bishop photographs Elizabeth interacting with them. Through these experiences, the two slowly begin forming a deeper connection. At the same time, Bishop is pursuing another objective connected to his mission. In the same neighborhood lives a doctor named Ahmed, who also happens to serve as the personal physician of the Sheikh responsible for the embassy attack. Recognizing an opportunity, Bishop approaches Ahmed carefully and begins building trust with him. Over time, their relationship grows stronger. Bishop even creates a photo feature focused on Ahmed's daily life, helping strengthen the friendship further while giving the doctor positive public attention. Because of that trust, Bishop eventually gains valuable information about when Ahmed will next examine the Sheikh medically. As Bishop and Elizabeth continue growing closer emotionally, Nathan eventually arrives in Beirut to review the operation personally. During the visit, Bishop updates Nathan on the progress of the mission and formally introduces him to Ahmed, whose connection to the Sheikh may finally provide the breakthrough intelligence they have been waiting for. While spending more time with Ahmed, Nathan uncovers a painful truth about the doctor's past. Ahmed's parents had supposedly died years earlier in what authorities described as a tragic accident involving carbon monoxide poisoning. However, Nathan reveals the deaths were never accidental at all. According to intelligence reports, the Sheikh secretly ordered their murders. Nathan uses this information to slowly persuade Ahmed to help them. He offers him something far more powerful than money or protection, a chance for revenge against the man responsible for destroying his family. Although the truth devastates Ahmed emotionally, he eventually agrees to cooperate with the operation. At the same time, Nathan has begun quietly observing Bishop's growing feelings for Elizabeth. Suspicious of her background, he launches his own investigation and uncovers details that deeply concern him. One evening, Nathan visits Bishop and Elizabeth together and casually mentions parts of her past connected to London. The unexpected comment shocks Elizabeth immediately. Bishop, unaware of what Nathan is implying, becomes confused as tension suddenly fills the room. Nathan intentionally pushes the conversation further, forcing hidden secrets into the open. Unable to handle the situation, Elizabeth angrily leaves while Bishop turns his frustration toward Nathan. Nathan criticizes Bishop for becoming emotionally involved without properly investigating her history. He warns him that Elizabeth may actually be manipulating him rather than genuinely trusting him. To prove his point, Nathan shows Bishop a photograph of a mysterious man and tells him to find out who he really is. Later, Bishop confronts Elizabeth with the photograph and demands answers. Elizabeth explains that the man operates an organization helping finance her humanitarian projects and relief camps. But the conversation quickly becomes far more serious when she finally reveals the truth about her past. Years earlier, Elizabeth had belonged to a human rights movement connected to a bombing incident in China. According to her, the group never intended to kill innocent civilians, but the attack went horribly wrong and many people lost their lives. Since then, Chinese authorities have relentlessly searched for everyone involved. Elizabeth then turns the situation back on Bishop by exposing his own lies. She points out that throughout their relationship, she never even knew his true identity, or the reality of who he worked for. Feeling betrayed, she walks away from him. Afterward, Bishop confronts Nathan once again, furious that he interfered in his personal life and destroyed the relationship. Nathan finally explains why Elizabeth's past makes her so dangerous. Among the victims killed during the bombing was the son of one of China's most powerful political leaders. Since that tragedy, the Chinese government has never stopped hunting for her. The story then shifts into another flashback as Nathan and Bishop meet Ahmed again. During the meeting, they secretly hand him a lethal serum and instruct him to administer it to the Sheikh during a medical examination. Nathan assures him the poison will work within 24 hours after injection. Ahmed accepts the serum and leaves, fully aware that his next appointment with the Sheikh is still 4 days away. However, Nathan has already decided not to rely entirely on a single plan. While waiting for Ahmed to carry out the poisoning, Nathan secretly prepares another option in case the doctor loses his nerve or the plan fails. Behind the scenes, he contacts rival factions within the Lebanese militia and quietly arranges a second assassination attempt targeting the Sheikh. At the same time, Bishop is supposed to be monitoring Ahmed closely, but his personal emotions begin distracting him from the mission. Unable to stay away any longer, he returns to Elizabeth and finally confesses the truth about his identity, his undercover work, and the real reason he came to Beirut. After hearing everything, Elizabeth chooses to forgive him, and the two reconnect emotionally after weeks of tension and deception. The following day, the city suddenly descends into chaos. Violent clashes erupt throughout the streets as heavy gunfire spreads across Beirut. Civilians are caught in the crossfire everywhere, and the number of wounded people rises rapidly. Ahmed rushes through the city trying to save injured civilians, but the outbreak of violence creates a serious problem. This is also the exact time he is supposed to meet the Sheikh. Watching events unfold, Nathan becomes convinced the mission is collapsing. He believes Bishop allowed personal feelings to interfere with the operation and cost them their opportunity. Nathan heads toward the area where Ahmed is treating victims. But instead of waiting any longer, he decides to activate the backup plan. He secretly contacts the Lebanese militia members he prepared earlier. Since they already know the Sheikh is staying inside a nearby hotel, the attackers quickly move into position and load explosives into a vehicle. At the same moment, Bishop arrives alongside Ahmed as they make their way toward the hotel district. Without warning, gunfire suddenly erupts across the area. The militia launches its assault, while the explosive-filled car is driven directly toward the hotel compound. Moments later, a devastating explosion rips through the building and surrounding streets. The Sheikh is successfully killed, but the operation comes with horrifying consequences. Many innocent civilians die in the blast. The streets are left in ruins, and Ahmed himself is killed amid the destruction and chaos. Watching the aftermath unfold, Bishop is emotionally shattered. The mission may have succeeded, but the cost is far greater than he can accept. Later, after leaving the destroyed area behind, Bishop meets Nathan one final time. During the confrontation, he makes it clear that he no longer wants any involvement in operations that sacrifice innocent people for strategic victories. For Bishop, the tragedy in Beirut becomes the moment that changes everything. He walks away from Nathan and distances himself from the entire world of espionage. Soon afterward, Bishop goes searching for Elizabeth, hoping to start over with her, only to discover she has disappeared. The only thing she leaves behind is a letter, forcing Bishop to once again lose someone he deeply cared about. The story then shifts back to the present. As Troy prepares to leave for the White House, Nathan secretly steals detailed maps of Suzhou prison from Troy's office. At the same time, he withdraws every dollar he had saved for retirement and transfers the money into a single account. With the prison layout finally secured, Nathan quietly begins organizing his own unauthorized rescue mission to save Bishop. Charles soon notices the unusually large financial transactions and begins suspecting Nathan is planning something dangerous behind the agency's back. Meanwhile, Nathan creates a fake operational plan and secretly passes the information to Harry. The rescue strategy depends on shutting down power around Suzhou prison for 30 minutes, meaning they need assistance from a corrupt Chinese military officer capable of arranging the blackout. Nathan eventually locates an officer willing to cooperate for the right price. During negotiations, the man repeatedly increases his demands, but Nathan agrees to every condition, pays the money, and finally secures the officer's support for the operation. Piece by piece, Nathan carefully builds the rescue operation in complete secrecy. Every detail is arranged so precisely that no one inside the agency realizes what he is planning. To make the mission appear legitimate, he even secures falsified authorization papers routed through Hong Kong, creating the illusion of official approval. The next day, Nathan attends another high-level meeting, but by then, Charles has already tracked the missing funds connected to Nathan's accounts. When questioned about the large withdrawals, Nathan remains completely calm. He explains that the money simply comes from his retirement savings. To make the story believable, he even shows them a brochure for a luxury home in the Bahamas and claims he is finally preparing for the peaceful retirement he always wanted. Soon afterward, the conversation shifts back to Elizabeth. Officials demand to know how Chinese authorities managed to locate her after so many years in hiding. At that moment, Nathan finally reveals the truth he has been hiding for years. He explains that long ago he realized Bishop had fallen deeply in love with Elizabeth and would eventually risk everything for her. Nathan openly admits that Bishop was one of the greatest operatives he had ever trained, but that very loyalty also made him vulnerable. Nathan then confesses something devastating. Years earlier, he secretly struck a deal with Chinese intelligence. In exchange for the release of an imprisoned American agent, he handed over information that allowed the Chinese government to capture Elizabeth. At the time, Nathan convinced himself that Bishop would eventually recover and move on with his life. He never imagined Bishop would one day risk his entire future trying to save her. Now, as events spiral out of control, Nathan is consumed by guilt, realizing his own decision ultimately led both Elizabeth and Bishop into prison. In the middle of the meeting, Nathan receives an urgent call from his secretary. He learns that Commander Willie has received the final instructions, and the helicopters are already heading towards Suzhou prison. Exactly according to plan, the prison suddenly loses power once again. As guards scramble in confusion, two helicopters roar across the sky above the prison complex. Before security forces can react properly, the rescue team descends rapidly into the facility and begins moving through the compound at high speed. During the chaos, Bishop is extracted from his cell and rushed aboard one of the helicopters. At first, he believes the operation was meant only for him. But moments later, he looks inside the aircraft and is stunned to discover Elizabeth is there too. Elsewhere, Troy approaches Nathan and offers what sounds like a sincere apology. Pretending the situation is hopeless, he tells Nathan there was never any realistic chance of saving Bishop. He advises him to let the matter go, walk away from the agency, and finally enjoy his retirement in peace. Meanwhile, inside the helicopter racing away from Suzhou prison, the pilot suddenly announces that Operation Dinner Out has been successfully completed. The moment Bishop hears those words, he freezes. He immediately recognizes the phrase as something only Nathan would use, a private reference connected to their past missions together. In that instant, Bishop understands exactly who organized the rescue and risked everything to make it happen. Back at CIA headquarters, reports begin arriving that an incident has occurred near the Chinese prison. Confusion quickly spreads through the room as officials realize a covert extraction operation has already taken place. One by one, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Nathan had secretly planned the entire mission right under their noses and successfully outmaneuvered everyone inside the agency. By the time they finally understand what has happened, the helicopters are already gone, and there is nothing left they can do to stop the escape. And that's where the story comes to an end, a world filled with secrets, betrayal, sacrifice, and one final mission that changed everything forever. If you enjoyed this movie recap, make sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next movie explanation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.